hate speech.
Bureau now has the technology to use your IP number and find you wherever you are. So I'm sending a signal to Ghanaians that we can find you those doing those hate speech and things. We'll use your IP number, we'll trace you. And when we trace you, we'll deal with you under the criminal code for inciting violence and disturbance of the peace.
Ekrobia Ghana embassy, you can do it. 80 President the Ompa Obiacho. Omfa Nsantu Nsayem. Osimin kanchira wo say, so ye bema. Na so so eni adin. Na asam na oka no. Wo so de obetuma ya abroso a. Opeso kacho say, ewiase bebia Ghana embassy wo. E na Ghana so Ghana wo. It wo de ye. Iti we de se Kevin Taylor ye bia. Wo so ye ne nhwe. Try your luck ni nhwe. Se Kevin Taylor ye yanche no. E na Kevin Taylor didi etu fuatam. E na Kevin Taylor didi ko fuatam. E na Kevin Taylor didi mo kan nyina manasi. Yate. Wo so didi etu fuatam. Now so did ko fatem did Mahama tem now can some na ye hate speech ne fato abonte ne yenhwe try or lack ne yenhwe try or lack ne yenhwe. All right, abusha enrada ene man panyi John Dramani Mahama hodu presidential media encounter achi say media houses akese wo Ghana ha nyina ono mo kasa ne nsem bi ena koduyansi ekobusa efa Galamsey sa so episode do ni Lante Vanderpuye onso so akasa abra man panyi John Dramani Mahama ekasa fa Galamsey ne ho no onso so abebobo ho sa so ena Kevin Taylor eso so aba bekasa efa man panyi John Dramani Mahama o say other bloggers any media houses ni bia obi biara obeka asem bia ebetia o man na ebetia obi no ye the IP address behwehwe ne kira kwan ni akwa na busua tamochuku episode ni ma bone tantama pupuduo pa che sensem polo ama bone bede me to apam pentri so me de adoma to so ma bone kedan e de ama o me ntwa me homra me be nkomo no ye de be hihye so. All right, abusia ya bane ni aba ye nyina ye ni tua se eno ada ye mampanyi John Dramani Mahama oni nsemhwefo nyina ehie mu bloggers ni mu ade na ne press conference na se de ne ho adi twi na no na Ghana fo ebisa se ne ti Ghana media houses pa anti no ensama ye awe se guma no amonko kanche mampanyi John Dramani Mahama emse man ti banka ni nyina na man ti man kana kokoduro so emse boko na emse agoro bi eya babani so na no ena kodyo yasin ekobusa mampanyi John Dramani Mahama sa bra na wo opposition no o ka se na Adodan Kwaku ado wona ne ba o mia government enhodu state emergency about Galamsey ko Galamsey no say water body say ma even Ghana Water West Rampo at the statement eba bontia no mo chewu said sabanye amana ni anko ho no wan hwe nsu ni na wan stop Galamsey a ebedru mebi nsu hu ebe hedin ama Ghana for pa abusia ye waste my time ye konko che mampanyi John Dramani Mahama bra no o opposition ensama o kan ye e fa Galamsey ho a afi na ba mba ya akodi yansi ko kubusa na sansemi afi o twisting nsem no. Looks like
he doesn't live in this country because I've commented on Galamsey over and over again. The University of Energy and Natural Resources gave political leaders the platform to outline their policy on small-scale mining. And for a whole hour, I outlined our policy. After that, there was questions and answers for 2 hours. We were there for 3 hours. So he should just tell his Flagstaff House media to get him the tape of what I said at the University of Energy and Natural Resources. Recently, when I met the clergymen, the Christian community, a part of my speech and the questions and answers was again on Galamsey and small-scale mining. And so, I mean, there's a lot that I've said. It is his responsibility. The people of Ghana elected him. He is currently the president of Ghana. And it is his responsibility to deal with Galamsey now. I know that after 7 January 2025, when Ghanaians have voted for me, I will take that responsibility and we will sort out illegal mining.
All right, Abusia 2024 campaign time. In summer, your man John Dramani Mahama ekaye efa Galamsey huni. Nano ena ma kodyo yansin enso so kobusa ne say ye mampanyi abra na wo position me kai wo kan sembi nsem ya wo kan yi na so ba pe say state of emergency there wo say ka wo to Galamsey so kwa na say Galamsey kwa there ye twam 10 time any small scale mining because say water body say ma even kwa Ghana Water West kwa e de nsem bi e ba bonten wo say ya me ani anko ho ne an stop Galamsey a e ba ji nsem
President, you've already talked about how important it is to safeguard the water bodies and the forest reserves. But over the past 9 months since you became president, the turbidity levels in the water bodies have worsened, according to the Water Resources Commission. Ghana Water Company supports this by saying that they've had to shut down several treatment plants because the water sources are too polluted for them to process. Besides that, we know that there have been increased incursions into forest reserves for Galamsey. We've also heard from your transport minister that we are importing more excavators than ever before, over 200 a day. My question about this is about its effect on the economy. Recently, the finance minister has been touting the work of the Gold Board led by Sami Jemfi for being an anchor to the economy, especially when it comes to stabilizing the city. My question is, does your government know, is your government able to tell the difference between gold from Galamsey and gold from regular concessions, when the Gold Board is buying gold from local producers? And could it be, because so much of it comes from Galamsey, could that be the reason why we are seeing some reluctance recently in the fight against Galamsey, in the sense that the IGP's efforts have been stopped, and he's brought back his men from the forests? Could this be because?
Thank you very much. I think your point is made.
Abusia, in some way, and I could Yansin, Ebusa, a man, Penny, John Dramani, Mahama. Say Galamsey no end day, because he said, "Who's I miss for Bar Bemono? A fair one excavator amount for import excavator more. A day be a 200 excavators in Umquini Tamaport. Today, now we are found. We are also wo Barbers to Galamsey. If you cry Ghana Water West Company, cry at the press about Bonting. So, some are buying eminent new call Sanya Maromo stop Galamsey, and this idea treatment Libo Honoma. Enkoyi jahia ebe affected Ghana Water Company today and a man penny John Dramani Mahama oyafa.
I never expected, or I never deluded myself that the fight against illegal gold mining or Galamsey was going to be an event. I mean, definitely, there's no magic wand. The decay has eaten so much over the last 8 years that it's going to take a lot of work to be able to overcome it. And I didn't expect that in 18 months we would declare victory in the fight. As the livelihoods of about 4 million Ghanaians is on small-scale mining. And so it's going to be a process. It's not going to be an event. But we will not give up. We have a determination to get on top of it. The Gold Board was introduced as part of reforms. And if the Gold Board was not introduced, I mean, those who were taking the profits from the small-scale mining sector were the foreign traders who were taking that money away. In 6 months, we have exported over $6 billion. About $4 billion of that money was going to go into the private or foreign traders. And so the first thing is you shut the stable door so that the horse doesn't escape, which is what we've done. So if it's from illegal sources, it's from legal sources. At least it's our land that is being destroyed. So let us get the benefit of it instead of foreign traders. So that's the first thing. But if you go and read the Gold Board law, it has a requirement for tracking and tracing. And as I speak, the Gold Board is working with an organization to put on a track and trace system. And so they're going to see those who have legitimate license requirements so that they can assist them in responsible mining, so that we can buy that gold off them. Once we do tracking and tracing, it's in our interest, because then we can export under LBMA, and we'll get more profit from exporting under LBMA. So the Gold Board is not just about buying gold, it's also about financing responsible small-scale mining. And mind you, small-scale mining is not illegal in this country. It's provided for in our laws. It's just that in many cases, we've not even trained the miners about what responsible mining is. You just see anybody who gets an excavator just goes anywhere and starts digging and washing. But small-scale mining takes place in Australia. It takes place in Canada. And so as I speak, we are organizing a trip for the Small-Scale Miners Association to Australia. Australia has given us an invitation to bring them to come and see how small-scale mining is done. without destroying the environment. And so that's something we're going to take an advantage of. And the Gold Board is leading, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources are leading that charge. Only recently, our Minister for Lands and Natural Resources came back from Australia. And so we need to train these small-scale miners. The gold is a blessing that God gave us. It's a natural resource that God gave us to make life better for our people. It's just that the way and manner in which we are going about it is causing destruction to the environment. But it is the result of an increase in the gold price. And if you've read widely, you find that the same thing is happening in Peru. It's happening in several other countries because of the heightened gold price. And so for whatever little gold you're able to find, you get more money. Galamsey was not a problem when gold was $2,000 per ounce. But today, gold is pushing $3,600 per ounce. And because of the lack of jobs, jobless growth for several decades, there are a lot of young people who are coming out of school who have no job work to do. And so for them, that is the only livelihood. And so we must not think just about chasing them all over the place without providing alternatives for them. Because the alternative is that they should stay home and starve or go out and do something deviant. And that's why we came up with the cooperative mining concept, for which we recently lost our colleagues. They were going to launch it, the first of its kind in Anglo, because one of the things we said was that we're going to let the big mining companies seed off some of their concessions. Some of them have 400, 500 miles square. And there's gold in some parts of those concessions that they will never mine because the grams per ton of ore is so low. But yet, if you put a small-scale miner there, he can mine it effectively. And so we've discussed with them and they've all agreed. And so Anglo-Ashanti was the first. They've cut a part of the concession. And that is what Omani and Murtala and Co. were going to launch, cooperative mining, so that we'll move the small-scale miners from the forest reserves where they are causing destruction and settle them on the concessions where the big mining companies have seeded. As I speak, Newmont has demarcated an area for these small-scale miners. And we have asked the big companies to mentor them and supervise them and make sure they do the right thing. So that was going to be an alternative for moving them out of the forest and other places so that they can mine under the supervision of those companies. And that's where our colleagues were going when the helicopter crashed. And so it's a program that we're going to continue so that we can give them an alternative, not just go chase them around without finding something else for them to do. And so that's something we're working on. With regards to excavators, we're enforcing the law that you must get the permit before the excavator is put on a ship. That is what the law has been, but it was not followed. And so they let the excavator land before they come and ask the Ministry of Transport for a permit. And so we've informed all the dealers that you cannot load an excavator onto a ship until you have gotten a permit. In the meantime, a lot of excavators have arrived at the port. And recently, somebody said they were being released at midnight to their owners and things. That's not true. What happens was there were so many that they had occupied a huge area of the port and congested the port. And so we found the land near Shy Hills, near the military installation. And the Field Engineers Regiment and others have been given charge to move the excavators from the port to that area so that they can free up space in the port. And they do that in the night because of traffic in the daytime. So in the night, they have the payloaders moving the excavators out of the port to the designated areas where they are supposed to be held. And before any of those excavators is released, they must be tracked. They must have a tracker on them. They must be registered by the owner of the excavator. And we must know the purpose for which the excavator has been imported. Because the construction industry also imports excavators. And so you cannot put a blanket ban on importation of excavators just because you think that every excavator is going to go into the illegal mining industry. Even the big mining companies that have licenses import excavators. And so we want to know who is importing the excavators, who it is going to, We want to be able to put a tracker on it and be able to trace that excavator wherever it is in the country. We called off the IGP's anti-Galamsey task force because they are supposed to coordinate with NIMOS, that is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. Unfortunately, they were not doing that. So every little commander in any this thing gets up, Galamsey phobia, they can't tell who is licensed, they can't tell who is not licensed. And so it was just like an attack on the whole small-scale mining industry. And so what we said was they should freeze their action. They should synchronize it with the National Anti-Galamsey Operational Secretariat so that they can be directed exactly to where to go in terms of the anti-Galamsey fight. While we're fighting Galamsey, it doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all for everybody to get up. Anybody gets up, puts on a helmet, puts on a jacket, and says, I'm anti-Galamsey. They say, we're not looking for chaos. We're looking to do it, you know, in a scientific manner so that we do not hurt the whole of the small-scale mining industry.
Now, in some of your penny don't drama in Mahama or Kanya, but Bonatofa. The man penny don't drama in Mahama, or say Lands and Commission. Minister of Lands and Commission was say Australia for the letter bar artists whom we inviting or call Australia. No more quite fast a small scale mining. A quite barely ye, while black a monk say water bodies in the forest near the day. Into a buyer, and as woman now, no cabo, no yes or no more call other big mining company which is a new mountain near Santi Gold near the day. Now coming in our quakusia. Now come on, small scale man and also me a Galamsey no Meshia, no much wrong with a fast way proper mining. No more Omega Galamsey own soon, you mefro, or more Galamsey or forest, you mean for near proportion beer. As I see me hodie, a yes as a papa, and I say Omudi Galano and Omega small scale mining or her, and could say soon sans sense as I say. Yes, I know, a can't be an uncle Muka meeting and no helicopter no, echo crash here. And I feel so on your so be out so me anti Galamsey of a 5 years or not yes, come to say Hanabisu, or say yes, I know, I said the chaos name in Temuase and never bad. Remember, Kisho said, well, yes, small scale mining beyond obey, we proper document and Sunday who say, we're part of small scale mining. Yes, sir, Obitoze and Conphobia or to Galamsey, Abatuashans now, I ain't seen be and the BOC. Excavators now mount for a year port over 200 excavators a day be a banner. Or see, I don't know, and Conphobia, and more, remember, making sure say, or may register with him, no man track it. Now, no good airport one, not port one, not G space one, to more you for, and Muko Gubaby, I might say soldiers for, and the person, no soldiers for, and the big guy, excavators, and I could various places. Hey, your man Pena, somehow carry the oh, wait, you move on. Now, you say, you caught Lante Vanderpuye, a bright man Penny don't the man in Mahama, a Casafa Galamsey, you honestly, in some say no kai.
Today, the reaction I have picked from people looks like the only response people were not too happy with was his response on the issue of the Galamsey. I think people came there expecting that the president would say, yes, I've accepted state of emergency. You understand? And so listening to various media houses, people's reaction and all those things, it looks like that's the only question and the only response from him that people were not to. But I felt that he intelligently handled that question because he made it clear that yes, state of emergency, yes, I could do that. But that is when I have exhausted all the opportunities and the legal regimes available to me as a head of state. And I think we haven't. We still have this, we still have this, we still have this that we could use to do. And two, I've never thought that from day one, I've never thought that the fight against Galamsey was going to be an event. It's a process. And we started, we've done this, we've done that. We have this number of blue water guards. We're going to recruit more. This is what they are going to do. And this is what we are going to do. It tells you that there is a plan, there's a program. Maybe that plan and that program have not yielded the sort of results that people are looking at. And as we see today, every issue, every discussion about Galamsey have been heightened by the fear that have come as a result of the problems confronting the Ghana Water Company Limited. Obvious, you know, and the sort of attempt to pass that liability to us, the ordinary consumers, which may be justified though, because they will need the sort of resources they will need to be able to cure, to provide the service. So I think that is what the only response that has not generated that much appreciation from the public. But I think in the midst of that lack of appreciation from the public.
Abusia ni namte Vanderpuye ene kwete ne nkaba so eba ne Galamsey ye mampani John Dramani Mahama o kasa yie e wo ho yes nye state of emergency sem ne question they will see you put in the question also so reply question and answer e di bi roll ba bi di bi share left and right no wo hansa nie na abusia for yentin si Kevin Taylor na kache ye bra ye mampani John Dramani Mahama o kase e kai yakoyem say se obi atwe fun jana ni ma no didi atem no threaten na te say tribal te say NCPP and they say isi wo Ghana na they say wow wonim se obefa phone obedi do mampani ata na obedi di minister bi ata na obedi di ahemfo bi atem ana se obekeka nsem bi ede basabasa your tribalism ni niam beba bia no ye do IP address ye be track you ni aba ba chew na sansem we na Ghana for ka say the Ghana media house mo so ayeso ma mo call media presidential media encounter mo ko ye de o amontima musa say ye mampani abra Kevin Taylor eba Ghana ensem ni adidi atam odidi ochehene ebika asanteman ebika asantifo nyina edidi mpanimfo bi atam Kevin Taylor by Oko Supreme Court almost got to the free even kwaya sama national security mo guide no e mo sa ko peda bi ate say your vice president Jena na opoku agima ba bi anko betena na mo no ko hye no dwodwo no ho no kone nam Ghana Supreme Court e no fa no ho di ye e no sa kwatena abruchire mo antima musa na sa asem wi ne de NDC mo ba ba mu a ne de mu no ba ba chichi nkofo bia ne se ya chi abronyi a ya chi fati comedy ni bi mo de keka ho nyanke ya chichi a ne se nka NDC fo nke ri ka chichi mu especially okuja to brakwa o ka se ka plane enfa na nado kra enkobo because nado e di Ghana ska o de fifa plane ko de aba ne se wabro ni ti plane mu edwale eguye so saso ena sami dafi eso e kan bi keka se bi a chese o ka chese o kasa ka se even na nado kra mse na adwen kra enya adwuma was nyema bi oye nsisi so ne de mu NDC for ne de mo chiche nkofo you go take Kevin Taylor emra.
Yes, you have another video for me. Mr. President Eka Sembi for hate speech. Hate speech.
Bureau now has the technology to use your IP number and find you wherever you are. So I'm sending a signal to Ghanaians that we can find you those doing those hate speech and things. We'll use your IP number, we'll trace you. And when we trace you, we'll deal with you under the criminal code for inciting violence and disturbance of the peace. But I believe that beyond that, we must start making regulation for this new media because it's unregulated. And so anybody just takes a phone and says, oh, this plane crash, I wish that so and so had been the one in the helicopter and had died and dwarfs have eaten him in the forest. I mean, why would you say something like that? And so we need regulation for that new emerging media. But in the meantime, the National Signals Bureau has been given the full authority to track down people who do that kind of thing and bring them to be sanctioned under the criminal code.
President Akasa, we argument to be in him or say, we are Ghana ni, it does not matter where you are. Say, why would you say, what the hate speech, everything social media, everything TV, so on the also or cultural, Sebio and the Wama Obino through the National Signal Bureau, the full authority to look into the system. Obia why na ajune say, obey using the platform, the social media platform, to incite tribe against tribe, incite people against people, to hate, to cause some kind of mayhem, chaos through hate speech. Mr. President say, only the waka, or say or the 2 million ama NSA. Communication Ministry so air draft emra ye de beto ho enti president de also aka wa also ye bear man me de so also ye bear man to send me a call na so person ye te Kevin obetumi I said Kevin e person ye say Kevin also unya evidence de ka wa asem bia ho so wo say we ye bear man president naka enti we de ye bie floodgate no kone koye me say Muna muti social media ye na Kevin Taylor ye no obi anya no hwe na Kevin Taylor me see ye hwese Mahama be obibia Kevin Taylor ye ne tama na NPP was na Kevin Taylor di atem ne na me say Kevin Taylor ye na so Kevin Taylor ya nchena ntum Kevin Taylor ba Ghana ya nchena ntum na so be ya President Mahama say emra no ho nti wa opese ye be ma na opese ye no o your ba ye it does not matter where you are you can do it Ekrobia Ghana embassy wo ho you can do it enti president de ompa obi a chew amfa ne nsanto ne nsayem oseme nka nkire wo say so ye be ma na so so weni den na asem na oka no wo so de obetima ya abro so a obeso ka chew say ewiase bebia Ghana embassy wo ho na Ghana so Ghana wo ho enti wo de ye enti we de se Kevin Taylor ye bia wo so ye ne nhwe try your luck ni nhwe se Kevin Taylor ye ya nche no na Kevin Taylor didi etufu atam na Kevin Taylor didi kofu atam na Kevin Taylor didi mwaka ni nyina amanasi yate wo so didi etufu atam na so didi kofu atam didi Mahama atam na kekansam na ye hate speech ne fato abontene ye nhwe try your luck ni nhwe try your luck ni nhwe
abusafo nseme na Kevin Taylor kana Ghana for say Kevin Taylor awukra de kasa IP address ni ye Mahama kan ke nuka se ka wo program crafa sa asem we ho because so also we evidence okay ukodi di wache hinatem we evidence so ukodi di natem we evidence so ukodi di asantemawura meka bomu we evidence so ukodi di natem is we evidence that me di atem evidence ma kwan se kodi di obi atem Ghana yofu abusia Shirwaji comment section hono ni follow all the social media platform as VANDYKE. Subscribe to YouTube page anytime you ever drop latest update no on Saka.